It's crazy. Where is all the hate coming from, man? You know, like, I don't know. I try to investigate also. You know, I mean, back in the day, nobody had to voice an opinion about everything. You know, now everybody wants to voice an opinion, and it's so important to voice your opinion. It's not. You know, shut the fuck up. Be nice to each other. You know.
Schmier, it is wonderful to see you again. I mean, you're never away for long because this is now 16 albums in 40 years. That is an insane schedule. And it's not that you don't do anything in between those albums either. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Always good to see you, Jasper. And, you know, glad to be back with a new album now. It's been a busy year between the touring. We went to the studio and recorded all the time.
Yeah. I shared with you last time that I thought like Diabolical to me felt a little bit like a comeback for a band that never was kind of gone, and it made me think of like All Hell Breaks Loose, where like it was like a new wind in the sails of the band, or there was a new energy. And on this album that continues. Like this is an insanely energetic album. There's not really a word that I can put on it, if you will, but there seems to be some magic in the current lineup of Destruction. Is it as simple as that this lineup works, or are there other factors that make it easier? I don't know if that's the right word, than in previous years or decades to keep this energy and momentum that we usually see from 16-year-old people, not from people that are 40 years on the road already.
Yeah, you mentioned it. It's the momentum that you have to catch. You know, it's if the energy is good in between the band members, if the working process works fine between the way writing and recording works, then you can create some magic. You know, and I think it's always like this. That's why usually a lot of times when bands start, the first albums are the best because they're young and wild and they want to, you know, they want it, and they also get along, and then they start to fight. You know, they start to steal each other's girlfriend, and then the problems come up, you know. So I think we have the lucky position that we get, you know, a strong lineup that gets along, and we're tight, we sound good together. Everybody puts in his part, everybody knows where he goes. I'm the captain of the ship, the guys contribute, and it works great. And yeah, like this, I think you can hear that from Diabolical to do this new album, we still made another step ahead. You know, it's still a little stronger, I think, and that's actually great to hear that everybody so far loved the album, and I hope the fans will love it too.
Yeah. There's also definitely more variety on this album. We see some different sides from you guys.
Yeah, because I'm the kind of guy. If I write an album without thinking, I'm writing 10 fast songs. You know?
Right.
You have to stop me and say, okay, listen, you know, you have to play this live. It has to groove. The fans want to headbang. They want to sing along. And then, and despite on this album, I sat down, you know, checking out the tempies of the songs and say, okay, now I'm writing a song that is like more like groovy. And then I wrote Angst, like a groovy, evil, atmospheric track. You know, it's going to work great live. And that's something you learn over the years, that when you write songs, I love fast songs. I love punk rock. I love fast speed metal, you know, and when I write for Destruction, I always like to write fast stuff. But it's better for an album if it has more variety, if there's, you know, there's a deeper look into it, and you find more details. It's always good. So no fear, the album is so fast and furious. But
I had a chance to listen to the full album. I know what you're talking about. But yes, Angst released as a video recently as well. We might even get some nods, especially in the first half of the song, to Sabbath and Accept. Maybe even some very small Manowar pieces in there as well at the beginning of the song.
No, it's all bands I love, all bands that up with all bands that influenced us in our youth. And I think it's more than legit to let those influences come out again. You know, that's where we're coming from, early punk rock and the new wave of British heavy metal.
Now you say earlier, like, oh, the dynamic between the band members is really good. We have a healthy relationship. But in this video, we do, I mean, it's maybe not the right interpretation, but your tentacle is penetrating Martin at some point, or maybe I thought, was he aware that he was going to be violated in that way?
I mean, we wanted to create some.
There's a metaphor in there somewhere.
No. It's basically that we wanted to have those monsters for the video because we're talking about fear, and our artist Gyula from Hungary, he kind of created those tentacle monsters. They will also be in the booklet, and we thought we have to have them in the video also. So I think what you will see is actually Martin. Martin has those tentacles or those arms also, so it's
But they're coming out of there's one coming out of his mouth, right? At some point.
He thought it was kind of interesting, but it's actually the creation of our artist that had these ideas, and we were a little bit amused at the beginning, but then it looked really like evil and cool and different also. Then we tried to visualize it for the video, and it's kind of was an interesting project.
Yeah, I bet. Now, another song that for me stands out, both because I think it's one of the best songs on the album, but also because I like the content that you talk about, is Cyber Warfare, which I think is a really cool song. I also like just, when I'm not interviewing bands, I actually work in cybersecurity. So it was
my brother does too. So yeah.
So it's really interesting to see that. I mean, cybercrime is massive. More money is being made from cybercrime, 10 times more than from drugs business. Like globally, more than $10 trillion. Is it how hard when you're writing about things that are quite the current topics, if you will? What's your approach to making sure that a song, even if it deals about something that is really important now, and in the case of cyber, it's always going to be important because we're always going to have technology, but how do you make sure, you've done this before, where you highlight current events, if you will, but making sure that it's not too data specific, so that in 10 years, 20 years from now, a song is still relevant, if you know what I mean? What's that like for you?
I guess it's those topics that really kind of touch you, and internet is something that we will always use. I mean, it will change in the future. We saw the TikTok drama already in America. I don't know, you're the expert, but I think there has to be one day, there has to be regulations for the internet. It will come, right? Sooner or later, the open net that we have now, it's not going to stay like this. In the future, it will change. There will be AI programs that control the network, and you're going to get blocked or whatever. I know it's going to happen. So, and I think it's actually needed, because when we had the Russian war started against Ukraine, we had to cancel a tour in Russia, and the topic of our news was like Russia, war, Ukraine, blah blah, and then we posted the cancellation, and then what happened was the traffic on our fucking Facebook site it collapsed. There was 10,000 of bots attacking a fucking metal website that has nothing political important for Russia or for this war. And the whataboutism they posted, that's when I learned what whataboutism was. I was like, well, what is this? Oh, whataboutism. Okay, interesting. And this way I learned a lot about the new stuff, and then I started to investigate about the bots, and I was like, oh man, Russia has a bot army. If they attack us and we're nobodies, like what's there, and then I became all more clear how the internet works, and I talked to my brother a little bit about it, and it's an interesting topic, so I thought it's time to write about it, because many people are not aware. People are like, I don't care if my stuff gets stolen from WhatsApp, if my data is not important. Oh yeah, your data is important, and I learned what spoofing is and all those new words that the old man like me doesn't know, so I thought it's a great topic that will stay in our heads for the next years, because we need the internet. It's an important tool, but something has to happen also to to control it.
Yeah. What I find always interesting, and you've always been a band that has something to say, if you will. I mean, sure, there are destruction songs that are stereotypical thrash party bangers, if you will, for sure. There's no doubt about that.
It's also needed, you know, because
of course, yeah,
you know, it's also a part that we have a good time too, you know, but also we want to have something to say, and
yeah. And I find it interesting that specifically with another song that I think is a really good one on this album with God of Gore, where it's an interesting world that we live in, that it is the extreme metal band that is basically telling everybody else, like, hey guys, let's have some love and understanding and let's listen to each other, you know? Because it's in a way, it's kind of like a weird situation we're in, that it's up to people like us to be the ones that are carrying that message around, where you would expect very different things from extreme metal bands. Is that something that you kind of find funny, or maybe sad is a better word as well, that so many people get caught up in the hate and fueling the hate, and that a lot of in mainstream media and entertainment, a lot of that is fueling that?
Yeah, it's crazy. Where's all the hate coming from, man? You know, like, I don't know. I try to investigate also. You know, I mean, back in the day, nobody had to voice an opinion about everything. You know, now everybody wants to voice an opinion, and it's so important to voice your opinion. It's not, you know, shut the fuck up. Be nice to each other, you know. Think about the hippies. They had the best life, you know. Share what you have. Love and peace to the world. That's what we need, and it's gone. And I don't know how we ever gonna achieve this again. You know, the way the world is turning right now. If you look at the politics and you know how America is divided, how Europe was divided, in especially in the COVID times, and all the wars going on, it's frustrating. So I'm trying to write aggressive lyrics with a meaning, and that have a positive message. You know, that people are like, hey, you know. I think also that we're kind of, you know, a lot of the Western world is too rich and too full of themselves, you know, like we don't understand that we have a great life, you know. We have a fucking fantastic life. And then people are complaining, like the famous eggs in America. The eggs are too expensive. Yeah, I know the eggs are too expensive in Germany too. Fuck that, you know. But we have a lot of other problems, you know, and we still have a great life, and we forget about that. And then I think, you know, humans always remember how bad everything can get when they turn sick. You know, when people get sick or in the war and stuff turns really bad, then they're like, oh my God, it was great the way it was before.
Right.
I guess we're living on that top of the mountain at the moment, where we like complain on a high level, but we actually still all have a great life, and we should actually, you know, work together instead of work against each other. But
exactly.
It's never going to work, right? History is proving us wrong all the time again.
We don't have a great track record. Now, lots of different topics that you talk about on this record, but the album is also, you know, quite varied from a musical perspective. We spoke about Angst, that is the biggest example of that, maybe, where you slow things down at times. But there's some other songs that for me stand out. Destruction will always know Destruction, or think about, you know, the raw riffs and, you know, fast-paced songs and what have you. There's some songs on this album with Dealer of Death and Evil Never Sleeps, where we get to see a little bit more of a melodic side of you as well, I find. You say that in between touring and you went into the studio to write this, the variety of this album, does that come from the fact that it was, you know, written over a certain time, different times, or was it the intention to explore, you know, a more melodic side, a more harsh side?
It's the learning from the last years, the way songwriting works, and the way looking back at your own work works best. We have this, we kind of developed this new way of recording the ideas right away, and have demos from day one. Like when I have my first riffs, I collect my ideas, and then I go to the studio, meet the guitar players, and we work on the structures and on the riffs. And then we have songs, and then sometimes I'm just singing like some phantom lyrics, like I'm going into the booth and I'm just singing something, and then I'm going home and I'm writing the lyrics about it, And this way, it gives me the chance to reflect everything so much better. And then it's like, okay, what's missing on the album? Another fast song. We have enough fast songs. Write something, And also the melodic moments, they're kind of highlights here and there that are coming out. And because of this work, this album is done since summer. And now, like, we're 8 months later already, and I still can look back and say it sounds great, because we had always the chance to look back and change stuff. Usually you go into the studio 4 weeks, 5 weeks, bang, album is done, album comes out, and you're like 6 months later, you're like, no, the album has only fast songs, or there's, you're missing certain moments, certain highlights, and because we're working like this, we can always change stuff until the last moment. And when we do the final mix, the album was already 6 months old. When I started recording in January, by March, April, most songs were done. And then when we mixed the album, we could look back and say, okay, anything else missing? No. And then you're still going to be happy about the result much longer. And that's also the reason why there's more variety. Also because the new guitar players contribute some cool stuff. Damir is a great shredder. Marty is a great producer also. And this way we can get best out of the band.
Listen back in time to the early days. It sounds like a crime.
You say that you come up with great ideas for music, and then in the studio you might start with just kind of riffing some vocals and then figure out what you have to write lyric-wise to match those songs.
Yeah, was that also spontaneous catching spontaneous moments is the magic of music, I think.
Was that also the case for a very important song on this album, a song that I think we'll hear now at the start of every Destruction show going forward?
You got it.
the song called Destruction, a eponymous song, again, something that a lot of bands will do on their first album or their second album.
They're young and wild and crazy, and they want to do it.
Exactly.
If you have a chance to do it early, then you have to do it at the later year.
Now, the lyrics of this song is just a wealth of Easter eggs, obviously, with a bunch of references. So for that one, did you guys just write a really fun song and go like, you know what, we're going to turn this into the Destruction song? Or was it like, no, we want to create this, like we said, we touched on Manowar earlier, like they do that almost every album, right? Like half their lyrics are just their own song titles. Was that like going into this process, like, oh, we want to have this anthem for the band going forward? Did you write those lyrics first?
Yeah, no, I wrote the song first, but I wrote the song first with the idea the song has to be called Destruction.
Okay.
So when I wrote it and we had the demos ready, I was like, okay, this sounds like a Destruction song, and it could be the opener of the new shows for a while, because it has all that it needs for the formulas there. And then when I wrote the songs, we came back from the tour, and I was like, what I'm going to write it now? It's like, okay. And then I started like looking back in time, like, okay, I'm looking back in time. Okay, first sentence, And then I was like, can I really use some phrases? And I tried, and I was like, fuck, it sounds cool. It sounds a little, some people will hate it because it's not a new idea, but the fans will love it. The fans will love it to hear some phrases from old song titles and stuff in the lyrics. I did it before on Butcher Strikes Back, and I did it again. It might bore some, but for the real fans, they will love it. And we're not Manowar, we're not doing it on every album. And we did it like twice or 3 times in 42 years. So come on. So I think when I had the good vibe about it, I was like, just go. And we used some stuff that was really meaningful. Like when I sing "We're the Outcast" and stuff like this, we really were the outcast. In the 80s, metalheads, like we looked, the way we looked, we were the fucking outcast, and I remember all those times, and I want to, bring the vibe to the fans, because We Are Destruction is the thing I want to hear the fans sing live at the show. and I want them to feel it, that they're a part of the band. And then you have to put some cheese on the fucking sandwich, you know.
There you go. You have to make it tasty. You have to make it tasty.
Have to make
Awesome.
it tasty. Exactly.
Awesome. I mean, there's so many things I could still ask you about. You know, we'll have to find time next time that you come.
If you get enough clicks and people like the interview, we do a part 2.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There's lots of shows coming up. We'll keep our eyes open for more announcements. We know that you're coming to the States for Milwaukee Metal Festival as well.
We're gonna play some shows around Milwaukee. Just a handful of shows in America, and hopefully also one in Canada. So
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
That's gonna happen in May. Yeah.
Fantastic. Schmier, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to our next conversation. Have so much fun with this release because it's such a fun and good one. And it's cool to see that is happening for a 16th album after 41 years. That's insane. You're now classic rock. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. And it was a pleasure talking to you, like always.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.